Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfic and audiofic. This is a special one-shot, Shadows of Nightmare, written by Jheqia, and she did it for Will as a writing prompt and for his birthday, so make sure you go and send them both some lots of love and in the comments down below. Also, I did the artwork for the thumbnail, so hopefully you enjoy that and you like that. And make sure you send me some love for narrating it as well by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it, and make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on other one-shots and other series that are happening at the moment. And enjoy. Shadows of Nightmare, Adrien's POV. It began the night before with an akuma attack at 2 AM. It was one of the bad ones. A cab driver had been brushed off by a late night fare and began throwing cars all over the place. There was a lot of damage, including the front of the Dupanchan bakery, as the delivery truck smashed through the front windows. Thankfully, that was the end of it, since Ladybug had used her lucky charm, a spike strip, to puncture the fair square tire skates, leaving him stranded, and Cat easily destroyed the taxi badge and released the akuma. Of course, the swarm of ladybugs had set everything back to the way it had been, but he had to check in on the Dupanchangs to make sure they were okay. He had also wanted to check on Marinette. She appeared drained and exhausted, but she'd been touched and flattered that he'd taken time away from sleep to check on her and her family. He stayed for a while to make sure she had calmed down, but she finally sent him home with a bag of cookies and a tired, even heroes need sleep cat noir. Which explained why Marinette looked almost as tired as he was the next morning in class. Her head was drooping, her smile was absent, and her eyes, when he saw them all, were glazed and distant. She had a hard time staying focused during class, and Alia kept poking at her to keep her awake. But Nino was doing the same to him, so he couldn't judge. Not that he would anyway, after the night they had. "Are you doing okay, Marinette?" Adrien asked sleepily as they put the books away for lunch break. "Yeah. Late night. Akuma. Bakery," she murmured, her normal stammering reduced as they poked in single-word sentences. "Yeah, that was a rough one." He yawned as the four of them trudged to the cafeteria for lunch. "The noise kept me up half the night. When do you want to get together for that project?" "What project?" "The one Mrs. Mandalea's assigned us." She must be exhausted after that ordeal last night. Normally she would be anxious to work with her friends, but today Marinette was in such a haze of exhaustion that nothing seemed to register with her. For once, he was lucky he was used to not always getting enough sleep. "A presentation on hydrology, remember?" "Yeah, girl. You have a free period at the end of the day, right?" Alia put in, eager to keep her best friend on track. "Yeah." She guided Marinette to a seat and helped her sit down. "Are you free then, Adrien?" Alia asked pointedly, though he couldn't figure out why she was so interested in their science project. She went to get their lunch, letting her friend put her head down for a moment. Pulling out his phone, he checked his schedule. "That's right. My Chinese tutor had to cancel today, so yeah, I'm free if you want to get together, Marinette." He had been looking forward to going home for an early night, but he felt guilty that his good friend hadn't slept well the night before because he and Ladybug hadn't stopped the akuma sooner. The least he could do was help her get their project done on time. She just smiled wearily at him sideways, just barely turned her head to look at him and Nino. "Sure," she slurred and then sighed and closed her eyes. But she must already be asleep because he almost thought she said, "Sure thing, hot stuff." But Marinette would never say that. Not to him, at any rate. Lunch helped perk them both up a bit, but the rest of the day was awful. Classes seemed to crawl through the allotted times, and by the end of the day, Adrien was ready to speed through his project with Marinette and go home. They made their way to the library while Alia and Nino went for coffee after class, claiming their two dozy best friends were making them crash. They printed off a list of various sources the library had on hydrology and scanned it blearily. "So, do you want to check the periodicals while I get the books?" She nodded and walked over to the racks of magazines and newspapers, swaying slightly as she went. "Got to get this done," Adrien thought. "The sooner we get it done, the sooner we can both get some rest." They made their way to a table at the back of the library, with hopefully enough source material for their presentation. Marinette didn't twitch as he collapsed in the seat next to her. She even laid her head on his shoulder to read the book he had opened in front of them. "She is so warm," Adrien thought, unconsciously rubbing his neck against the soft hair. "And she smells good, like flowers." The gentle rise and fall of her breath was like a gentle lullaby, lulling him to sleep. He had no idea how long they'd been sitting there, leaning against each other in a sound sleep, but a scared whimper woke him. He struggled to open his eyes, realizing his neck was stiff from leaning at an odd angle and the collar button of his overshirt was caught in Marinette's hair. That woke him sufficiently to try to free her, but she moaned and shifted closer to him. He blushed a bit as he carefully pulled the silky strands free of his shirt button, worried that he might hurt her, and she moaned again. This time the fear made it through his tired brain. "No," she murmured, her face contorted with intense emotions, and the hand that rested on his arm was trembling. "No, Cat, I'm coming." The last vestiges of sleep were driven away from those soft, frightened words. Is she dreaming of me? What could Cat Noir have done to Marinette to give her bad dreams? "Marinette," he whispered, shaking her gently so not to startle her. "Marinette, wake up." She grasped his arm in a fierce grip, her head thrashing back and forth, tears pouring down her cheek. "No," she cried, loudly this time. "Not Cat Noir! Not again! No!" The librarian shushed them with a stern look, and Adrien shook her more roughly, trying to get her to wake. With a final thrash, she jerked upright, her eyes wide and staring. Her breath came out in raging gasps, and she was shaking like a leaf. She had the look of someone still trapped in shadows of nightmare. "Marinette," he said softly, squeezing her hand in his. "It's okay. You fell asleep. You were having a bad dream." Her eyes frantically flickered from window to shelves to table and finally to his face. He didn't know if she was truly awake yet, but her face crumpled as fresh tears streamed down. She buried her face in his shoulder and wept bitterly. Adrien was stunned for a long moment. Marinette was smart and kind and brave. It never occurred to him that she ever cried. Then again, he thought, even Ladybug gets overwhelmed and cries from time to time. Why shouldn't my everyday Ladybug cry too? And just as he would his partner, he wrapped his arms around his friend and held her while she cried. It was several minutes before the quiet sobs slowed enough for her to lean back and look at him, at which point she leapt backwards as if burnt, an embarrassed flush staining her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Adrien. I didn't mean to. I just..." "Shh!" the librarian hissed loudly from behind them. "It's okay," he said quietly, squeezing her shoulders with his hand before letting her go. "I don't mind. I'm glad I was here for you." He looked at her. He looked at the book stack around them. "Look, I don't think either of us are going to get this done today. Why don't I walk you home and we can do this over the weekend?" She bit her lip nervously, not meeting his gaze. "That would be great, but you don't have to." "I want to, Marinette." They tidied up the books they had taken out, walked out into the brisk winter air of the courtyard. "So you had a nightmare?" She rubbed her elbow, embarrassed. "Yeah, I guess I did." Why had she called out Cat Noir's name? Had she been frightened in her dreams? How could he ask about it without prying? "Do you have them often? Bad dreams, I mean." "Yeah, a couple of times a week, I guess. I just generally don't fall asleep in public, so it doesn't come up. You know, Marinette, if there's anything bothering you, I'm here to listen if you need someone to talk to. She glanced over at him as they made their way down the stairs. Thanks, Adrien, but it's no big deal, just a bad dream. Everyone has them, right? She laughed weakly and he grabbed her arm as they reached the last stair. Yeah, but not everyone calls out the name of a superhero in the nightmare. Marinette flinched at his words, the blush nearly permanent on her cheeks as she stared blankly at him, then sighing as she said, I guess you're right. She sat down on the last steps, hugging herself for comfort. Taking a seat next to her, he put a tentative arm around her shoulder. He swallowed hard. Did Cat Noir ever do anything to hurt you, Marinette? Please say no, his mind cried. I know I have no idea what I do when Akuma takes me over, but please tell me I never hurt you, Marinette. She waved her hands frantically between them. No, nothing like that. It's just that I worry about him. Her words filled him with warmth. That Marinette would worry about him, about Cat Noir, even after he broke her heart, was amazing. She was amazing. Why worry? I mean, he's a superhero, and even when he gets hurt, Ladybug always fixes things and brings him back, right? Somehow this was the wrong thing to say. Her face fell and her gloved hands clenched tight around the straps of her purse. I still don't want him to get hurt. And he does. All the time. Throwing himself into danger to protect Ladybug is his job. I get that, but I don't want him to get hurt doing it. The quiet sobs started once more and she hid her face in her hands. I guess you think I'm being silly, worrying about a superhero getting hurt. How could he think her foolish when her heart was hurting for him? He wrapped his arms around her as she cried. No, I don't think you're silly. I think you care about people, Marinette. It's what makes you our everyday Ladybug. Is that what your nightmare was about then? Cat Noir getting hurt? It's always the same, she murmured, smearing her tears with her gloves. Something happens. I never really know what, but he gets hurt and is akumatized. The whole world is just desolate. There's no one left, and I'm the only one who can save him. He's dressed in white with these cold blue eyes, and he isn't Cat Noir anymore, Adrien. I want to help him so much. I want the nightmare to go away, but no matter how many times I save him, that Catblanc is hiding behind my eyes, waiting for me to fall asleep. I'm so sorry, Marinette, he whispered, holding her close and feeling her frightened sobs shaking him to his core. Dream or not, this was real to her, and just the thought alone terrified him. He couldn't imagine dreaming it several times a week. I'm sure Cat Noir wouldn't want you to worry about him, certainly not enough to have nightmares. But I know it means a lot to him to know that you care about him so much. She pulled away from him slowly, staring at him from red-rimmed eyes. How would he know? I've never told him. That's right, Agrest. Keep your identity straight. I mean that if I was Cat Noir, it would mean a lot to me to know that you care so much. He glanced at her sorrow eyes. It was probably a bad time, but she wasn't as nervous around him right now, and he did want to know. I never knew you were so close. You and Cat Noir, I mean. She blushed, and it made her whole face look red. We're not really. He rescues me several times, and he needed my help in the akuma once, but it never was anything else. So, our everyday ladybug doesn't have a celebrity crush on Cat Noir? He teased lightly, hoping to ease her tension. He hoped she was over that brief crush he had on his alter ego, but he couldn't deny that her concern for his safety touched him deeply. Marinette sighed and looked down. No crush. He's so devoted to Ladybug, he wouldn't see someone like me anyway. Besides, she murmured softly, he deserves better than me. What? He felt taken back. Marinette felt like she wasn't good enough for Cat Noir. Was that because he had rejected her? Was it because he was a superhero and she was a civilian? Or because she had revealed her identity to him on her first and last day as Multi-Mouse? Whatever the cause, she was feeling lost, alone and afraid, all emotions that he understood completely. He couldn't let her keep thinking this way. No, Marinette, you're amazing. Cat Noir would be lucky to have you like him. She stared at him, her face a dozen shades of red, and he realized how that could have sounded to her. Not that you do or anything. You said it. No crush. I just mean that there is something special about you, and he would be a fool not to notice. Marinette wiped her eyes once more and chuckled dryly. Thanks, I think. He rubbed the back of his neck, unsure of what he said that made her respond like that. I mean, it in a good way. She sighed. I know, she whispered sadly. Adrien scrambled for anything to change the subject. Hey, could I maybe hang out with you for a while? It's getting pretty cold out and I can smell your father's croissants from here. She giggled, knowing how much he loved croissants. Only if you don't get in trouble. Nope. Chinese class is cancelled for today, remember? Besides, it gives you a chance to beat me at Ultra Mega Strike 3 again. He wiggled his eyebrows at her, and the giggle turned into a full laugh that warmed him, as if the sun had suddenly appeared on a grey winter day. You're on. And that's how Tom and Sabrine found the two teenagers 2 hours later, asleep on the sofa, curled around each other, a plate of half-eaten pastries on the table, and game controllers hanging limply from their hands. It was the best sleep either of them had in a long time. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that one shot. Make sure you send Jheqia lots of love for writing it. Make sure you send me lots of love for narrating it. And by smashing that like button, comment down below what you think of it. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on other one shots that are coming your way and other series that are happening at the moment. And I hope you are good and get some good sleep and rest tonight. And I will speak to you soon. Bye.